Some of you guys have not seen me give my 10-minute yet, so I figured I'd kind of give just a general overview of who I am, what we do, and just that way we kind of get a gist of who Alender Insurance Agency really is. But yeah, so Alender Insurance Agency, relate, educate, innovate. You've probably heard me say that in the past. I was actually meeting with a friend of mine's dad who owns a real estate agency over in Staunton as well, just across the street from us. And I think I don't really remember what we were talking about, but I was asking him some questions about how to make a website, maybe do some marketing, things like that. And he said, well, you should have a good tagline, maybe even 3 words, something like that. So the relate, educate, innovate, what that means for us is we really want to get to know our clients. We want to understand them, who they are, relate to them. Maybe it's just a single person who is wanting some reliable coverage, or maybe it's a whole family with, I don't know, 4 cars, and they need to make sure that their teenage drivers are insured the way they should be, and so on and so forth. Maybe they have a pool, who knows what. But there's a variety of things that's important to understand before proposing an insurance policy. And usually that once we understand what they have, if we think that they need something different, that is where the educate comes in. So we want to educate them on why they might need that, and then ultimately make something good and be innovative. So that's just the gist of that. I say that a lot, and I want everybody to understand why we emphasize those 3 words and ultimately what they mean. But who we are. So these are the very clearly put 5 people that you might get if you call our office. There we go. It's cleared up a little bit. Maybe not. But nonetheless, so we have my dad, we have myself, and then below here, Dorothy and Autumn, and then on the right we have Donna. Donna's our most recent that we've brought onto the team. But yeah, it started off just me and my dad in 2017. I actually got my license back in 17 and started in the Medicare supplement world, door knocking. That was an interesting way to start in the insurance world. Wasn't too sure how successful it would be if that was all I was doing, but it was a good experience. Huh?
What company was that with him?
Physicians Mutual, actually. Yeah, and we still do stuff with them today. They have some nice products. But yeah, I started off with Physicians Mutual, and eventually one thing led to the next, and we got the office and such. But I thought that was an interesting way for me to start. There was more failure involved than success, and more frustrated people as to why is this guy knocking on my door. But yeah, no, that's how I started. But my dad got me into that, and it was just me and him at the time. And then eventually we got the office later, and we moved uptown to Staunton, and we hired some other people prior to Autumn and Donna, but we got some employees there, and then Autumn came along, and then we purchased W.S. Meyer Agency over in Hamel, and that is how we ended up getting the Hamel office. And Dorothy was already working there, and she's been in the industry for many years. She's almost an encyclopedia of knowledge. But yeah, no, we have her, and then yeah, Autumn came along, and she worked in Staunton at first. Now she's kind of at Hamel too, and then Donna, if you call Staunton or Hamel, you might get her depending on where she is that day. But yeah, that's who our team is, and I foresee us growing more in the future. But I already kind of gave you that just as to the relate, educate, innovate. Those are just things. That's a step that I explained to all of our people in our office, that we want to honor that and do our customers justice. But I thought I'd give a very, very simple breakdown on homeowners insurance and what it is and how to understand it. And this is, if somebody didn't understand insurance and they came into our office, I would kind of have a similar conversation with them as to why I might be making some adjustments to their policy and such. But yeah, so a peril, the definition of it essentially is a specific cause of loss or damage to your property. It's the event or circumstance that directly results in an insured's loss, and different types of insurance policies cover different perils. So when you buy a homeowner's policy, what are you buying it for? Like what kind of perils do you have in mind? And if you have certain ones in mind and you don't know if it's covered correctly, it's important that you ask. Like, you know, say water backs up in my basement. Say I have a fire on one of my sheds that's just used for miscellaneous things. You know, how much coverage do I have on that shed or on that outbuilding? I'm kind of just pulling up random examples, but there's many different things that can happen, and it's important that, like if you're in a floodplain, do you have flood insurance? I mean, it goes kind of on and on. Do you have solar panels on your roof? Does your home value need to be increased because you have solar panels on your roof? A multitude of different things that you might have to think of, and that's kind of where we come into play. We make sure for the standard perils that you have coverage for that. But these are some of those examples. I actually should have brought them up earlier. But yeah, we have fire, windstorm, flood, earthquake, lightning, just some simple examples of things that could happen to a home that it's important that you're covered correctly for. Fire and wind usually come standard on a homeowner's policy, but when it comes to flood, that's a separate policy many times that you have to purchase. And earthquake too does not come standard on policies. Usually they have about a 10 or a 15% deductible since they happen so rarely. That's how companies maintain the affordability on that. And then lightning, of course, that could, I mean, I have not had a lightning claim yet. I hope I don't, but nonetheless, they do happen. But the policy itself, what kind of policies are there? In the most simple way possible, obviously it gets a lot more in depth than this, but HO2, HO3, and HO5 are kind of the most basic breakdown of different homeowners policies. HO2 is named peril, you don't have as many coverages on that. And HO3 though is the most common policy that I sell. I've actually never sold an HO2. I have sold some HO5s, and sometimes they're more expensive. I was actually surprised one time in HO5 with one of our companies, it was Madison Mutual. They actually were almost the same price as the HO3, but it covers it a little bit more comprehensively. And as it says, open peril policies are normally, they include everything except the specific exclusions. So I don't know, there's just, maybe you do have an HO5. You very easily could. They do exist out there in plenty of popularity, but most likely if you have a home, you probably have an HO3. So yeah, ultimately, if disaster strikes, do you have confidence that your policy covers you for what you think it covers you for? And that would be a conversation worth having with your agent or with me, depending on if you're interested in seeing whether opportunities are out there or some other people that you might know. Do they know for certain that they are covered for all the things that they think that they are? But I thought I'd actually, and if you guys have questions, you can kind of ask me now. I was wanting to actually pull up our website.
The HO1 policy, it wasn't there.
HO1, there's not really an HO1. The form numbers for policies are weird. An HO2 is a basic homeowners, an HO3 is a regular homeowners, and HO4 is a renter's policy. HO5 is the special, then an HO6 is a condo policy. So yeah, an HO, was there ever an HO1?
There used to be, but there isn't anymore.
What was it though?
I don't know. I think it used to be different between broad and basic, I think, maybe.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Yeah, so perhaps early in the days of insurance that did exist. I think what happened was most people wanted the better coverage anyway, so that probably is why the HO2 and 3 became kind of the default product. But yeah, so if you have somebody interested in meeting us or getting in contact with us, our website is just alenderins.com, INS short for insurance. But when you send them here, this will just kind of give them an overview of stuff we offer and things like that. A page that I added on that I think is really good for people who just want to get in contact with us is, do you want a quote? You can come here, fill out a form with your contact info, give us a basic overview of what it is you're looking for. Obviously, you can't get an actual quote from this screen, but it would prompt us to understand what you're interested in and things such as that. Community, I need to update this page. It's been a little bit. I'm in charge of the website, and I get kind of caught, how do I say it, behind sometimes. But yeah, we sponsored a guy who was doing a jiu-jitsu competition over in Springfield, gave him a shirt. We were involved in the Chamber of Commerce. This was a little music thing that me and Dave Sisler, the real estate agent I was referring to, we put some music on for the town, sponsored a golf team. Yeah, I need to, gosh, 2024, it's 2026. I need to get with it. But yeah, about us, that's our mission statement there. We want to make a meaningful impact ultimately on our community, so that's why we make sure we're involved. I'm on the chamber board as well, actually. But yeah, these are the same people I introduced before. Contact us. If you want to schedule an appointment, you can schedule an appointment. I thought I had a picture of both of our offices here. I think that was at the bottom of here. Yeah, there we go. So our Hamel office is just adjacent to the post office over in Hamel, and then this is our Staunton office. We actually have both of those units on the left-hand side, right next to the pizza restaurant, which makes the office smell good at 4 o'clock every day. But yeah, but I added a little segment on our website called Learn, and this is just really some informative stuff that people ask, like how is your rate determined? I put some things there that might determine someone's rate on their home. Claims history, coverage limits, your deductible, do you have a security system, little things. Everything plays a role, and that's why it's important to share all that info with your agent. But yeah, I have just some slides showing our carriers and such. And then, yeah, I included a little agent bio. I need to update some photos too for myself. But this is my dad. He founded it and such. And he'd been selling insurance for some time, even when he was younger too. Back in 2012 was when he got back in the industry. And ultimately we combined. And then, yeah, a little write-up on myself as well. But yeah, I went to Greenville. That's where I got my business degree. I know I'm out of time, but I got my business degree there. And
That's where my wife's from.
I originally, oh wait, where am I going? I'm supposed to stay there. Originally, I wanted to go into medicine, and I was a biology major. But first semester, I dropped biology, so I was not still I was not a biology major any longer.